What kind of marriage is this? I am tired. Even me too.
Marriage Part 1. Marriage did not begin with love. It began with survival. Before vows, before rings, before churches and registries, marriage was a silent agreement between fear and hope. Two people standing before life itself, asking a question neither of them truly knew the answer to: can we endure each other and still survive the world? Over time, the word grew softer. Love was added. Romance was painted around it. Promises were rehearsed and spoken boldly. But behind closed doors, marriage remained what it had always been, a place where human weaknesses collide, where expectations wrestle reality, and where joy and pain often sleep on the same bed. Some enter marriage with prayers. Some with pressure. Some with pregnancy. Some with desperation. Some with genuine love that later forgets how to breathe. In marriage, smiles can be performances. Silence can be louder than screams. A home can be full, yet empty. And sometimes, the very thing meant to protect you becomes the battlefield you never prepared for. And this story began with Esther. Esther was only 17 when life quietly changed its language around her. Her parents, once strong and hopeful, fell sick almost at the same time. School fees became hospital bills. Books were replaced with medicine. Dreams were postponed without permission. While her mates woke up every morning preparing for school, Esther woke up to wash clothes, cook meals, and search for small jobs that could put food on the table. She tried. She truly did. But no matter how hard she worked, the money was never enough. Hunger does not listen to effort, and sickness does not respect age. Instead of finding another way, instead of fighting with her, life cornered her. A decision was made without her consent. A marriage arrangement. The man lived opposite their house. Old. Wealthy. Comfortable. He had everything: money, property, influence. Everything except youth. Everything except love. Everything except a future that looked like hers. They said it was for her own good. They said it was sacrifice. They said marriage would save them all. Esther could not believe it. Growing up, she had watched weddings. She had seen laughter, dancing, happiness, at least on the surface. She had believed marriage was a union of two people who knew themselves, understood themselves, loved themselves, and then chose to share life together. So she asked herself a question that would later haunt her nights. Is this what this thing called marriage truly is? A transaction? A rescue plan? A price paid for survival? Why must I marry a man older than my father just to be allowed to live? That was the day Esther learned that marriage can be an answer to poverty. And a prison for the innocent. And this was only the beginning. To be continued.
My husband can't bear to beat me. I wonder why you all allowed your husband to beat you.
This thing called marriage Part 2. Esther's parents gave her hand in marriage to the dying man across the road, not out of cruelty, but out of desperation. Hunger speaks louder than love when sickness sits in the house. In exchange for her youth, her parents found survival. And just like that, Esther became a wife, leaving behind her two younger siblings, Monday and Monica, who now depended on whatever mercy her new life could offer. Soon after the marriage, Esther was introduced into the women's forum of the village. She did not speak much. She listened. She watched. She studied their faces, their laughter, and the bitterness hidden beneath their jokes. One woman sighed deeply and said, "If I had known marriage was not as rosy as they painted it, I would never have dared to marry." Another nodded quickly. "Me too. I should have married for money and not love. Maybe my life would have been sweeter. Maybe I wouldn't be suffering in the farm from morning till night just to feed my children." Before Esther could process that, another woman cut in, her voice trembling with anger. And what of me who married for money? Look at me. My husband has turned me into a punching bag. I cannot run. I cannot divorce him. If I leave, my family will drown in debt because of what he has done for us. Esther's heart sank. That night, sleep refused to visit her. She lay awake, staring into darkness, asking questions with no answers. If this was marriage, pain whether chosen with love or money, then where was safety? How was she supposed to survive all this trauma with a man already halfway to the grave and a life she never asked for? The next morning, on her way to the stream, Esther saw a crowd of women dragging a young lady across the dusty path. They beat her mercilessly, anger written boldly on their faces. Out of fear and curiosity, Esther asked what the girl had done. One woman replied coldly, "She killed her husband. She will be banished from this village." Another added, "She was forced to marry a man old enough to be her father. Out of anger, she poisoned his food and killed him. We, the married women of this village, have decided to punish her ourselves." Esther stood frozen. So killing your husband was forbidden. Running away was forbidden. Enduring was compulsory. Her chest tightened as the thought crossed her mind, does this mean this is how my life will end? Days later, Esther was seated outside cooking when Maggie passed by and stopped. Maggie was known in the village, loud, smiling, always present in women's gatherings. "Esther, how are you doing?" Maggie asked. "Since you got married, I haven't found time to visit. How is marriage treating you? I hope you're enjoying married life." Esther nodded slowly and forced a weak smile. But Maggie leaned closer and whispered shamelessly, "This your husband can barely stand. Does he even satisfy you in the other room?" Esther jolted. "Auntie Maggie," she said quickly, "I thought you were on your way somewhere. You might get late." Maggie paused, read the discomfort in her eyes, and left. Maggie was the village troublemaker. She lived across the hills with her husband, the most wicked man in the community, though he hid behind the mask of a good man. At night, he beat her without mercy. Sometimes he starved her of food and water for days. Yet whenever women gathered, Maggie would smile proudly. "My husband is the best," she would boast. "He cannot even raise his hand on me. In fact, I don't do anything at home. He does all the chores and even cooks." The women admired her. They believed her. What they did not know was that Maggie woke up every midnight to fetch water from the stream. She cleaned, swept, and finished all chores in the darkness so no woman would ever see her walking. She hid her bruises. She swallowed her pain. All just to protect a lie. And Esther began to wonder, can an abusive marriage truly be hidden forever, or does the truth always find its way to the surface? To be continued.